All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're going on a pretty unique expedition. We're not exploring some lost city or a distant galaxy. Now, we're going somewhere way more complex and, honestly, more mysterious: the human mind. And our guide for this whole thing? The legendary Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung.
But before we start, I've got a question for you, and I want you to really think about it. Who are you when no one else is around? You know, when you drop the act and you're just you. It's a surprisingly tricky question, isn't it?
Well, if you find that hard to answer, you're not alone. Carl Jung basically dedicated his entire life to that question. He was less like a stuffy doctor and more like an explorer, charting the huge hidden territories of the human soul. He actually created a map, and today we're going to follow it. So, every expedition has to start somewhere. Ours begins at the most familiar point on the map, the part of our inner world we know the best, our conscious mind.
This is what Jung called the ego. You could think of it as your base camp for this whole journey. It's the center of your known world. It holds all your current thoughts, your feelings, your memories. It's that voice in your head that says, I. In fact, it's the part of you that's listening to me right now. Okay, now we're going to venture just below the surface of that base camp. We're moving into a region that is totally, completely unique to every single one of us.
And this is your personal unconscious. The best way to picture it is like a vast personal archive. It contains every single experience you've ever had that was once conscious but has kind of been forgotten or pushed aside. It's your own private library of memories, and it's shaping you in ways you probably don't even realize. So this is where Jung's map gets really, really interesting. He suggested something that was totally radical at the time. What if, as we go deeper, we find parts of the mind that don't just belong to us?
Welcome to the deepest, most mysterious layer of the psyche. This was Jung's most groundbreaking idea, and, his most controversial one too.
He called it the collective unconscious. See, this isn't your personal archive, it's humanity's archive. It's this shared reservoir of images, ideas, and instincts that we all inherit from our ancestors. It's the reason why myths about heroes, great floods, and creator gods pop up in completely separate cultures all over the world. It's like we're all drinking from the same ancient well.
Okay, so if this is some kind of shared mental landscape for all humanity, who or what lives there? What are the patterns that emerge from this universal foundation of the human mind?
Jung called them archetypes. Basically, these are universal blueprints, the original patterns for our ideas and behaviors. You can think of them as the recurring characters in the grand story of humanity. Let's meet a few of the major ones. First up, we've got the two faces you wear. On one hand, there's the persona. That's your social mask. It's the polite, professional, got-it-all-together version of you that you show everyone. But on the other hand, kind of lurking behind it, is the shadow. And this is all the stuff you don't want to admit about yourself. Your hidden desires, your weaknesses, your raw instincts.
Then you've got your inner counterpart. Jung proposed that inside every man, there's an unconscious feminine side he called the anima. And inside every woman, there's an unconscious masculine side, the animus. These inner figures have a huge influence on who we're attracted to and how we relate to the opposite sex.
And that brings us to the center of it all, the self. This is the ultimate destination on Jung's map. Now, don't confuse it with the ego. The ego is just the center of your conscious mind. The self is the center of your entire psyche, both conscious and unconscious. It represents wholeness, unity, and completion.
So, the big question is, how do we get there? How do we actually reach that state of wholeness? Well, Jung gave this lifelong journey a specific name. He called it individuation. And here's the most important thing to get about it. This journey isn't about becoming perfect, it's about becoming complete. It's the process of making the unconscious conscious, of bringing all these different parts of yourself, your mask, your shadow, your inner counterpart, into one balanced, unified whole.
The path itself has some pretty clear stages, even if they're not easy. First, you have to acknowledge the mask you wear for the world. That's your persona. Then comes the really hard part, confronting your shadow. Looking at the parts of yourself you've always denied. From there, you start to understand and integrate your inner masculine or feminine side, all leading eventually toward realizing that unified self.
Now, I know you might be thinking, this all sounds pretty abstract, maybe a little out there. But Jung's map of the mind has had a huge practical impact on how we understand ourselves today. Seriously, its influence is all around us.
Ever taken a personality test? Of course you have.
Well, the very ideas of introversion and extroversion, they were popularized by Jung. He combined those with his 4 functions of consciousness: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. And that whole framework became the direct foundation for tests like the Myers-Briggs. Yeah, that one. Millions of people use it to make sense of themselves and others.
So Jung gave us the map and laid out all the core concepts. If any of this has sparked your curiosity and you feel like, okay, I'm ready to continue this exploration on my own, where do you even start?
Here are a few essential guidebooks for your journey. If you're just starting out, Man and His Symbols is perfect. He wrote it to be a gentle introduction for everybody. If you want to go deeper, then The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious is absolutely essential. And to really get the personality stuff, his book Psychological Types is the original source.
So let's wrap up by coming back to the core message of this entire journey. It's such a powerful reminder. The goal isn't to erase your flaws or become some perfect, ideal person. It's about embracing every single part of yourself to become whole.
Look, it's not an easy expedition. It takes real courage to face your own shadow and a lot of honesty to see yourself clearly. But according to Jung, this inner journey, it's the most important one you'll ever take. So, we've laid out the map that Jung created. We've pointed out the territories of the ego, the personal unconscious, and that vast, deep, collective unconscious. The real question, the one I'm going to leave you with, is this: what will you discover when you start to explore your own map?